welcome. I'm Danielle Hankinson, your host of Heart Centered Love, where we are here to learn how to communicate effectively, create true partnership, and ignite passion. And today, our wonderful guest is Teal Elizabeth. Hi, Teal.
Hi.
Thanks for dropping in. And she's going to share with us, I really like this one, about a bit about standing in your feminine power while dating in the modern world. I think this is really, really cool if you're in the dating realm, which I'm not. So I'm like a guinea pig. Tell me anything. It's got to be different from when I was dating a long time ago. So anyway, I'm so glad she's here. And let me tell you a little bit about Teal so you know who she is. Teal is a professionally trained relationship coach. She has a deep passion for supporting ambitious, driven women in opening their hearts to receive love. After going through her own share of dating struggles and heartbreaks, she became determined to master this area of her life. The principles she shares in her programs and resources are tried and true and helped her go from single and lonely to traveling the world with the love of her life. She now makes it her personal mission to support ambitious women like you in connecting with their most authentic self so they can attract meaningful, loving relationships while standing in their power. So, sounds like Teal is doing what she says. So, Teal, want to tell me a bit about your own story and yourself?
Thank you, Danielle. Oh, I just want to first say thank you so much for extending this offer to me to be able to speak to all of your incredible women. I absolutely love this body of work. It's something that I think it's not taught ever to us, right? How do we actually date and how do we get into relationship with men, with women, in a way that feels really authentic and true and not something that's just going to be, here's the quick tips to catch the guy and hook his heart. I'm not about that. It's about how do we really tap into our hearts and communicate and connect and relate to each other from a heart-to-heart level. So for me, I feel like I am not alone. There are in my own struggles of dating. I am a very, very driven, ambitious woman. I've worked my way up the corporate ladder. I've been working for the last 2 years on the people development team, and I know what it's like to be a very driven woman. And in a sense, it can bring a very strong presence when you put it into relationships. And I didn't even realize for the first 8 years of my dating life that I was actually subconsciously pushing men away just because of the energy that I was putting into my career was not the same energy that worked when you want to attract love into your life from a masculine, driven man. So this was the biggest epiphany that I had, and that I now am really passionate about sharing with other women.
I love that. Like that sounds like everything, because plenty of us women are driven, and we just go, and then you still want that lovely man or partner in your life. So, what do you think would be the biggest challenge for women looking for love in this modern world?
Yeah, well, I think we, Danielle, are in a really interesting right now for women that are looking for love and they're trying to get into relationships, because with the rise of the women's march and this whole Me Too movement and just carrying on the backs from many decades of women that have been pushing forward with women's rights and women's equality, we are at a really beautiful time in terms of women stepping forth into their power and feminism coming on really strong. But I also see it being one of the ways that is actually subconsciously or in a bad way having bad effects on relationships. And I think for women that are trying to compete in the workplace and are trying to be so strong and put together and equal, it's actually repelling men, because it puts men into a place where they don't understand how to be in relationship with such a strong, equal, powerful woman. And not to say at all that we need to give up our power or our strength, but I think that there's a shift in the way that we come across that takes us out of being in that headstrong masculine mode and into a strong feminine mode. And so that's really what I dive into in my teachings, is all about how do we step into our strength as a strong feminine leader and really tap into that feminine power that is not repelling, but that's actually very magnetic.
So then with that, when we are successful, driven women, how do you be that and the feminine? Like, because that sounds like from what I've been learning that the masculine is the power and the get things done, and the feminine is
Yeah, I know. This has been the hardest challenge for me to figure out. It's it's not easy, and like I said, there's no rule books for it.
Yes.
I think the biggest thing for me was recognizing that I even had this other side to my being, and not looking at it as a weakness, but actually as a biggest strength.
Yes.
And I don't think that we need to lose any of our incredible driven power in the masculine world of being able to run businesses and take care of families and have a career, and all of that is incredible. But there's actually, I literally had to think about it as taking on and putting on different hats. So when I'm in the workplace, I'm putting on my quote unquote masculine hat, where I am planning and driving meetings and strategizing and delegating and really showing up in that strong presence. But then when I'm coming home to my beautiful sweetheart, I'm reminding myself, okay, before I walk in the door, I'm going to take off that masculine hat, I'm going to put on my feminine hat. And that feminine hat to me represents, or not even hat, let's say crown. I'm putting on my feminine crown.
Yes.
And the feminine crown to me represents everything that is incredibly beautiful from a woman's perspective. The sense of being nurturing and kind and open-hearted and vulnerable and grounded and centered and at peace with yourself, and just exuding love. And I think it can just be very easy to get caught up in keeping your masculine hat on and taking that energy of like, okay, gotta do this, gotta drop off the kids, gotta make dinner. You lose that energy of the feminine, which is like, okay, let's just practice being. Let's practice really stepping into like what it means to just be present with each other and communicate from that sense.
So, like, I know for myself, when I've had one of those crazy days, many of those we all do, I need to, as a woman, I need to verbally download. I've got to, like, get it out of my head so I can be in this other place. To say you're coming home and you want to make the switch, but it's been one of those maxed out days. How do you transition when it's a full on day versus your regular full on day?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think there's two parts to it. The first part is, I guess we can start at the end of the day and then work our way backwards to the beginning of the day. But end of the day, I would say if you're really having one of those days, recognize that you're having one of those days before you bring it home, before you dump it onto your man or the guy that you're going to go run and have drinks with.
Yeah.
And take a second to ground yourself, or take a walk, or call a girlfriend to vent, or whatever you need to do, but making sure that you're not bringing that energy and that presence to the man's presence. And the reason for that, this may seem weird or like, why would you need to do that? It's because men, when they're around women, they don't want to be around another man. If you're bringing that very just like driven masculine energy, they're going to feel like they're hanging out with their buddy or their friend or their guy they can tease. And this is not. If you're really looking to connect to a man on a deeper level, on a heart-to-heart level, it's actually about you shifting your presence so that you can shift the way that they receive you when you show up. And that, I think, is the biggest distinction. And that's something that, like I said, going back to taking off the hat and putting on the crown, shifting your presence shifts everything in the way that they show up around you and the way they communicate with you.
So it's almost like you're saying that they're following our lead?
Absolutely. In a weird way, even though we're technically not leading, we're not driving, we are leading through example of how we want to be received. Yeah. And I think the other part of it is, that's in the moment at the end of the day, but really taking a moment in the beginning of the day. And this is something I still am building into my practice to make sure, because it's hard to remember that it's an important part. It's easy to want to just jump up and get to the gym or go to work, but really prioritizing that time to meditate or reflect or journal or do some sort of self-care routine in the morning so that you can start your day off from a place of grounded peace and ease and feminine qualities, going into the workday instead of trying to catch it on the back end.
Yeah, because it feels there's momentum, especially when you're running around and your day does those 180 speeds. And you're like, oh, okay, I need to download. So are you saying also then, if you're going to go on a date or you're meeting a guy or or you have one, we need to take a few moments to reset, and when we do that, what's the benefit to the relationship or the potential relationship?
It's incredibly beautiful, Danielle. I have watched it happen overnight. For 8 years, I consistently would push men away from this energy that I was bringing into relationships, and I could not figure out how or why. And men would be attracted in the beginning of like, oh, this woman's so independent. She's got her shit together. She's just like super on top of it. She's fun. She's flirty. But when that all fizzles out, they realize and they just feel that energy. So when I started taking this time for myself and really applying some of the tools of really tapping into your femininity, I've literally seen the man that I had had my eye on for years, that had never, he'd always kept me in the friend zone. Within a week, he really actually started noticing me in a different way. And then he reached out and wanted to actually take me out on a date. And 5 years later, we're now traveling the world together. It
Wow.
really was that drastic after 8 years of struggling with dating. So it's and little things that I would imagine wanting him to say, or imagining a man to be, like in allowing, just stepping back into allowance.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to then have the space to step up for me and be that man that I wanted him to be.
Mm-hmm. That sounds really cool. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's just a shift, really, or it's just coming in. Would you say that when you're in more of that female place, are you still very head conscious, or is it more heart conscious, or is it something different?
Yeah, that's a really good distinction too. I think it's very easy to stay caught up in our heads and analyze and be monitoring what's going on, how should I act next. But the more that we can tap into just relaxing and breathing and being in our heart and just communicating from a very vulnerable place, without that ego, without trying to show them or prove to them anything or trying to be equal with them, but just be us in our most authentic, beautiful self. That's really when they can then feel like, oh, I can relax around her. I feel like I don't have to try so hard. Maybe I feel safe now to open up a little bit of my heart and share with her and communicate with her. And that's how the shift happens.
Yeah, because I know one big comment from women with men is that they don't tell us what's really going on in their minds and behind their heads. Like, what are you thinking? And so what you're saying here is kind of like, well, when we change a little bit, then now they feel safe, and then they're going to share more with us, and then your partner or potential is going to tell you a lot more than you ever thought you could know.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's kind of like coming in with all of your guards up and like you have spikes coming out of you, and you're like, "Hey, you want to date me? But I've got all these spikes up because I don't trust you, and I need to prove myself." And like men are this and that and this and that,
Yep.
and you're completely. I've done it myself, and you're in your head and you're trying to think about, okay, like, is he checking off all the boxes? I need to judge him. I need to make sure that he fits into my life.
Yep.
And we can just push all that away, take a deep breath, drop into our hearts, remind ourselves why we're even here, why we're with this man in the first place. It's to have a heart to heart connection, it's to feel and receive and give love. It really does make all the shift. And men, from the other side, I can say, they look at you and they say, who is this woman? She's incredible. I can't even describe it, but there's something really special about her. She makes me feel safe. She makes me feel at home. I feel like I can really connect to her. And when they have that click in their heart, they never want to let you go. And they will do anything to fight for you.
Nice. I like that. So it is actually more powerful to back off on the power. It's like another level.
I kind of like to think about it as an energy exchange. So if you think about it, you have two different spheres of energy, your energy and his energy. And if you're coming together and you only have so much energy space between the two of you, if we come into dating or relationships leaning forward, challenging, pushing ideas, trying to drive the relationship forward, it only allows them to push back and lean back and pull away. And this happens all the time, and women are wondering, why are they pulling away? Why won't he call me? It's usually because we need to analyze, like, how is our energy affecting the way that they're receiving us, right? So again, in this shift, if you can pull back and shift the way that you're showing up, it naturally allows him to want to move forward and move closer toward you. Big distinction, though, this is not about acting apathetic or pretending to not need him, because I did that for a while too.
Well, that's what stuff says. You've got to pretend that you don't need them and all this stuff. So it's really confusing because it's like, well, like what do you say? Like if someone hasn't called you, like you just met someone, you're like you feel this great connection. What are the rules? Like old rules from when I was younger was, wait a few days, don't call them, they call you. How does that look?
Yes, yes. So we are in another incredible, new, interesting opportunity with modern dating where we have things like Bumble and Tinder where women can be making the first moves. And I think that's wonderful, but it does kind of, if we're making the first move, it's naturally pushing men back. So even though it's a great opportunity for women to be able to feel equal, I still don't think it really plays into what men want. Men want to be chasers. They want to be able to feel like they have to earn something and work hard for something. We are their prize. So in this sense, and like I said, I'm making this distinction assuming that women would like a strong masculine type of man. If that's not something you're interested in, then these principles are going to be different. But assuming that you want to attract that strong masculine chivalrous romantic man, it's about putting the attention back on yourself. And it's about making sure that you're not laser focusing on this one man and making him your everything. Whether it's 2 dates in or 5 years in, it's still about keeping the focus on you and your needs and making sure that your needs are getting met by you. And everything that the men bring to the table is icing on the cake. Does that make sense?
It does. It still sounds a little challenging if you're the go-getter female who's, achieved and done a lot. And, you're used to like, I'll just get on it and get it done. And then you're like, okay, I found someone I'm really interested in. Now I'm going to hang back and just become, although I'm possibly hearing that I'm going to hang back, but I'm going to just be this loving being that like you can't miss.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It is extremely hard. It's something that's really one of the hardest things to harness when you have so much go-getter energy to go out and get it and make things happen. So I would say, and this is something I've done as well, is put your focus on other men and continue to date other men while to step up to the plate. I'm not talking about going out and sleeping with every man you see, but just not having your focus on one particular guy and making him be the person that has to give you everything. So in those early dating phases, go out on a coffee date here, go out on a dinner date with another man here, go out with your girlfriends another night. Really make sure that you are getting your needs met with whatever people that you surround yourself that make you happy. And when you're doing that, you're taking the attention off of them and you're leaning back into you.
The whole thing is on theirs rather than, if you're really like laser focusing on this person, now we're pushing back into what you said doesn't work so well.
Right, right. And like I said, once again, it's not about playing games. It's just about being real and being authentic and saying, hey, this is what I'm looking for in a man.
Yep.
If that can be you, that's fantastic. But I don't want to put that pressure on you. That's a lot of pressure. So until you're ready to do that, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do that, and let's just enjoy this ride until we decide what's best.
Yeah. So question, when you're early dating, how do you know that this is potentially someone who is the mate I'm going to want to be with? Like, when those early times, you're like, do I like him? Does he like me? Is there any signs that yeah, this is good, keep putting some effort in and,
Yeah, I think respect is the biggest thing. Respect. If he respects you and you respect him, I think that's the foundation of every strong relationship. So if there's any signs of parts about him that you don't respect, that's going to be a good warning sign that it's probably not. If you don't respect it on day 1, you're probably not going to respect it on year 5. But also just allowing yourself to not be too judgmental at the same time. So trusting your gut of saying, this doesn't feel right, or this may be a concern for me. But also just allowing people to be people and people to be humans.
Yeah, because I can tell you the man I married when I was dating not the man I was looking for. It's totally different. But then 21 years next month, so it was the right choice. So it's like sometimes the one you're looking for or that you think you're looking for isn't the one that's going to provide and be all that for you. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it really comes back to, like I said, about tapping into feeling the best way that you want to feel. How do you want to feel? And do they make you feel that way? I want to feel absolutely cherished and admired and respected and lifted up. And I want someone that's going to make me laugh and feel light and like anything's possible. And then assess, does this man make me feel that way? Anything that's triggering me that he was like bringing out in me that I don't like. Let me understand that more.
Yep. So one last question on that. Like, okay, if I was dating, like, oh my gosh, yes, I feel so great when you part ways, end of the date or whatever. Then you come into that place of like, oh my gosh, well, should I call? Does he like me? And I'm going to take a guess here that going to that place in your mind is not serving what you just received. It's just like, so how do you like avoid that?
Oh boy, yes. Oh my gosh. So this is where trust is a big part of femininity as well. Yep. There's the respect, there's the strength, there's the open-heartedness, and then there's the trust. And this is about trusting yourself and really diving into your own self-love and self-worth. And I think this is something that even as ambitious, driven, amazing, incredible women we are, there's sometimes still a lot of self-love and self-worthiness that is lacking. And so in these moments when you're freaking out and thinking, oh my God, I love this guy, he seems so great, but I don't know if he's going to call me, I might lose him. That's when you go, okay, tapping back into me. What do I love about myself? What are all the incredible qualities that I have that he would just be a fool to let go of or to not want to be around? And just really just bathe yourself in self-love and just trust that of course he's going to reach out.
So that almost sounds like when you get to that place, because I think most people do, we're like, oh my gosh, and you start the self-doubt. That's almost like a sign like, okay, that means you've got to come back to yourself and let's go back to being that beautiful human that this person wants to hang around. So it's almost like a sign. It makes it simple.
Absolutely. And that's something that I love to work with women on, is really helping to just build up that self-love and that self-worthiness so that it really doesn't even matter who you meet. At this point, like even if my sweetheart and I separated, I would feel I would be able to be okay with that because I have enough groundedness in myself and enough self-worth to know that I will attract other incredible men that will also provide and give me that love, and that it doesn't have to be him or nothing, and that I'm okay on my own, and not pretending or seeming or looking or showing that I'm okay, but really honestly feeling okay with whatever happens. And that's a big distinction.
Yeah, and it sounds like that makes it easier because, if it doesn't work out, you're still good. And then there's some other person's going to show up because they're going to go, oh, that one, she looks happy and, that thing that I love about females.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I love this. This was a quote from when I got certified as a relationship coach. I learned this and I just love it. And it's about when you are really able to embrace your ugly parts and all the parts that you're kind of embarrassed to show, or the things that make you feel insecure about yourself. When you can really learn to love your ugly parts and show that to the man in your presence, it allows them to love those ugly parts too. But I think we try so hard to hide the ugly parts and only show the good parts. And that's where we get into this inauthentic feeling or being.
Because I know myself, even I have a crooked smile, so if you're watching this, you may have noticed it. Totally do. I know it's me, and I'm like, well, that's my authenticity. And my kids recently said to my husband, Mom's got a crooked smile. I was like, oh yeah, I know, that's her. So for him, it's like, that's what makes me me, makes me unique. So we all have these things that the person who's attracted to us may see as that's your little stamp that I know that's you and it's not somebody else. It's like, it's okay.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And you look so beautiful in being able to say that with authenticity and love for yourself.
Yeah.
It's incredibly attractive. But it's something that we don't take the time to actually do for ourselves before we get into our next relationship. And then we work so hard to hide these flaws so that they can't, they don't discover it. But they're going to see them. They're going to see them and they're going to love you for it.
And they may see them in a totally different way than what we do. I know this from doing photography. It's like, so it's like, oh, I hate my this, and the other person's like, well, that's what I love about you because it makes you you.
Yeah. So I guess as a very short answer to that, it's about always coming back to self-love, self-willingness, self-acceptance. Then it's about really taking the time to give yourself that time for self-love and tapping into that the peace and the calm and the centeredness, and really allowing yourself to feel the qualities of nurturing and love and open-heartedness in the presence of a man instead of being in the same energy that you bring to the workplace. Because the workplace and the relationship space are two very different energy spaces.
Absolutely. And it's like when you're in that self-worth, self-love place, it's like there's this radiating that comes out from you. It's this like warmth that comes, which is different to when you're in your work mode and you're chasing after things versus dropping in this way, and it's like this light of love that's like buzzing around. People are like, oh, this is really cool. Like, yeah, let's hang out.
It's dangerous. I'm telling you, walk on the streets in San Francisco. Oh my God, I have to bat men away with a stick if I'm not careful.
I had an instance the other day. My friend and I, we went to a spa and we were getting lost in the casino area down in Reno, and this older man pointed us in the right direction. I'm like, thank you. But when we went up to him, he's like, oh, sorry, I wasn't interrupting. And I'm like, no, we really appreciate it. So it's really interesting that he then thought about it later, because initially as the man, he's like helping us and we needed help. And then he felt bad for doing it because culture and society sometimes shifts these things. So then we ended up chatting to him, and he smiled, and I watched him stand up straight, and I'm thinking, no, we appreciate you. This is wonderful. Thank you, because we were going to get lost. So, yeah, so men show up in so many ways.
I love that you bring that up. I think men, with this big feminism movement and women really claiming equality, it's causing men to question where they even fit in anymore. And we need to allow men to still be men and allow them to do what they love to do, which is take care of us and support us.
It's amazing. Yeah, and I think he kind of watched that we got the right way. I'm like, thanks, because he knew the area, he'd been there a few days. So, yeah.
You gave him the biggest gift ever. You allowed him to step up and support you and help you.
I know, and it's so easy. Like, because I know from my own experiences and all this, is that this doesn't happen a lot, because I grew up in that whole power play thing, and I've got to be like a man to be worth something. I'm like, no, you don't. And so I've been shifting, but there's all these men in the world who've been receiving our female energy in this other way. So the more we shift it, then they're happier too. It's just it's a wonderful thing.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. So I know you've got a great offer for anyone who's listening here. So I'm going to let you tell everybody about that.
So right after this call, I'm providing the opportunity for women from this webinar and interview to have the chance to enroll in my 6-week Embody the Feminine Master Course. So this program is for women who are committed to taking a stance for having that kind of love that they've always dreamed of. It's for all my single ladies that are tired of going through the motions of the current dating scene and are ready to really try a new approach. And it's also for my ladies in relationships who are just struggling to find that commitment from their partner or feel like they're not completely satisfied with their partner. So through the different weeks and the lesson plans, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll go on an in-depth journey to connect to your core being and self as a feminine being. Then we'll identify what's been really holding you back from that rewarding and nourishing relationship. and help you cultivate a strong foundation of self-worth and groundedness from a place of love and acceptance. I'll also will be discussing a lot about how to get out of your own way of what's been really blocking you from being able to stand in your confidence and stand in your power in a way that really attracts real love from real men. You'll also have tons of tools and worksheets and little practice exercises and techniques that you can try right away to start seeing a difference in the way that you show up around men, and really help you to open up your heart to love and become vulnerable and be able to speak from a way that is intimate but shows that your strength, and helps bring them closer. So I want to just acknowledge that now the ladies that are listening, you may be thinking that you can't get started with something like this because you don't have the money to spend on fixing this problem, but I want to put some things into context. So when we think about investing in our own development, we usually put it into career education, right? Something to help our jobs. And that's why many of us are so successful in our jobs. But when do we ever get the chance to invest in our personal relationship development? Not very often, usually, for many of us. So we could easily spend over $30,000 a year at universities to invest in our personal career development. And for me, that $30,000 was well worth spending on myself when I did it, to be able to get a degree that helped me in my career. But why is it that people, feel afraid to invest in other areas of their life? This is a big mistake that I see with many women. They say that they're just going to try and figure it out on their own. But when you hold back from investing in your own personal development, I'm not saying that you won't ever find the man of your dreams, but you end up falling into the same dating patterns, and it takes you a lot more trial and error to get where you want, which means a lot more heartbreak and pain. And that is the last thing that I want for you. So by enrolling in this online course, this is 6 weeks of audio lessons. And like I said, audio lessons, worksheets, meditations, techniques that you can try right away. A total value of over $2,000 for this course. But when you invest today, I'm actually going to be throwing in an additional VIP one-on-one personal coaching session with me, valued at $200. And with this special time, you'll be able to get direct laser coaching to help you pinpoint exactly what your struggles are with men, and then identify what patterns you may be falling into that are holding you back. And then I will be providing you specific actions that you can take to help you start making shifts right away, so that you can be getting rid of those feelings of loneliness or frustration or just general disappointment of where you're at, and replace it with feelings of empowerment and something to show you a new path forward of successful relationships. So I want to say, when I was first figuring this stuff out, I myself ran into a huge roadblock. I was trying to teach myself how to practice all of this on my own with no one who really understood what I was going through or could give me the right advice. My friends weren't really in the most successful relationships, so I honestly didn't want their advice. So I had to find the right advice for myself. And that's where hiring my own relationship coach helped me make really huge shifts, and really quickly. So just think about all the amazing time that you could be spent having fun with your friends or time with yourself that is spent continuing to date the wrong men and getting advice from friends that steer you in the wrong direction, when you could have a personal coach helping to guide you on the right path and giving you the right tools to make lasting changes. Back then, it cost me over $5,000 to work with a personal coach and get the results that I really wanted. But I really don't want you to feel pressured to spend that much money to have the same results. And that's why I want to include a one-on-one breakthrough session and a coaching session as part of this offer. And really, for me, doing one-on-one sessions are my favorite because it allows us to go really deep into your personal challenges and make space for the incredible transformation and breakthroughs. So in total, this course that I'm offering, this Embodying the Feminine Master Course, is a 6-week course of online audio lessons, tools, worksheets, meditations, and practical techniques to use right away, valued at $14.97. You'll also be getting a one-on-one VIP hour-long coaching session with me, valued at $200. And I'm also going to be throwing in unlimited email support coaching as well throughout the program, so that you can be emailing me anytime you have any questions or things that you want to talk through. And this is valued at $500. And just as a special bonus offer, if you do sign up before the end of the day today, I'm throwing in a special offer to be able to receive my book, The Ambitious Woman's Guide to Love. So adding all of this up together is really a value of over $2,225. I'm offering this course at a total of $297 for the entire program. So if this is something you're really serious about changing and getting to the bottom of and moving on in your life, click on the link that I'm going to be sharing and it'll take you right to the page where you can go ahead and sign up and get started right away.